Hey leaders, needing more capacity in your business is probably one of the best problems to have. But before we invest in additional shifts, overtime, or capital investment on new equipment, we may want to understand exactly where we're losing our current capacity. It's week 15, time for another business checkup, and this week we're talking about overall equipment effectiveness, OEE. This topic goes hand in hand with some of the other topics we've covered, level loading your production schedule to produce every part every interval, and utilizing the concept of single minute exchange of dies to reduce that downtime in between changes. Overall equipment effectiveness is an industry standard measure of how much of your machine potential we're actually utilizing it. Another way to think about that is what percent of the time that the machine is available are you actually producing good parts? There are three components that go into the calculation of overall equipment effectiveness. The first is availability. The second is production rate. And the third is quality. Anytime the equipment is down when it's supposed to be running, that's a percentage off in your availability. Anytime the equipment is producing slower at a lower capacity than it's designed, that's percentage off in your rate. And anytime you're producing a defective part, that's a percentage off in your quality. A simple calculation can show us that when you have 95% availability, operating at a 95% rate, and 95% quality, you don't achieve 95% capacity, you're actually at 86. But just knowing your OEE number isn't enough. It's important for us as leaders in operations to understand where exactly I have my losses within my OEE calculation. As an example, if we look at two different scenarios that have the same overall equipment effectiveness of 73%, we can see in scenario 1 that we have a major loss in availability at 80%, while the rate and quality are pretty decent at 95 and 96%. In scenario 2, we're doing pretty well in equipment availability at 92%, production rate is high at 97%, but quality is below target at 82%. With this information, it might encourage us to take different actions to improve the process and the output of the product. To help us categorize this, there are 6 major losses that we talk about, 2 in each category of the OEE calculation. In availability, we have losses for planned downtime, such as setups, changeovers, and preventive maintenance, as well as unplanned downtime due to equipment failures and crashes. In our rate calculation, we have losses for minor stops like adjustments during the process and slow cycle speeds, as well as machines that are in disrepair, so they need to run at lower capacity or a slower cycle. In the quality category, we have fallouts for both rechecks during the startup and the setup of the machine, as well as during the production run. The best thing you can do to understand the capacity of your organization is to exploit the specific constraints that you're finding in terms of rate, availability, or quality. And this requires taking some measurements and monitoring the process over time. This will help you and your teams better understand where we can focus and align efforts for improved performance. So I encourage you this week to take a look at your OEE calculations on critical equipment and then understand which of the 6 major losses you're experiencing so you can claw back some of that capacity without additional investment. We'll see you next week.